Previously on Talk That Talk.
But with the one that's on the screen, are we behind our counterparts due to the tradition of not writing cadences? I'll be completely honest with it. That has nothing to do with it at all. So first off, let me go back about the stepchild thing. So in programs where the percussionists are respected as musicians, they don't have that issue. They're not treated like stepchildren, or probably not as much. But if they're respected and treated like musicians, then it's not really a problem. When they're back there to y'all got to keep the time, then it becomes an issue. Because they're not held to the same musical standard as everybody else. And then you're gonna have issues like, okay, cool, well, y'all go learn something, and just bring it back to the group, as opposed to having to read a part that's on the page. And I kind of leave that alone. That's gonna vary. I think Quan was up first and he was like, yes and no. It's gonna depend on the program. So it's kind of hard to really put that on everybody. Getting to the current question, I definitely come from a program where our traditional material is not on paper. So all of our marching cadences, all of our stand cadences are things that are taught. It's taught by rote. It did hurt a little bit when Larion was like, yeah, in 2022, we got to get rid of rote teaching. I earnestly believe that that's a part of the process, though, of getting better. And I'm a product of that, and I'll explain why. So when I got to NSU, reading wasn't my issue, but I had just started playing drums going into my junior year. So I ran into the issue when they passed out music. I would play it the first time, and I pretty much can read it through. All right. The issue is you ain't gonna have that music on the field. So it took me forever to memorize the music to be able to get on the field. My rookie brothers that play something real quick and they can hear it, they were running the music back as soon as they heard it. And that was my struggle. Had I did more rote learning, I probably would have been better. Or had it been coupled with, listen to the music, see how it feels, and be able to mimic it. Hey, this is what it looks like on paper as well. So we can't get rid of one and try to make it seem like, oh, everything has to be on paper. That's not how we learn. You learn how to talk and you listen to words and you speak words before you learn how to read them on paper. All right, so it's almost like we get to that European. I'm gonna go ahead and go there. We're gonna get to that European train of thought where, hey, the music has to be on paper. Like this is all, this is it. Read the music. It's not. That's not the case. All right. So let's not be ashamed of rote learning. Like that's something that can make you good. That being said, you got to be able to read the music too.
I don't think it's a European type thing. But let's say we do go there. Marching band is literally European. It is European. Like what we did from Africa, chopping down a tree, concave, animal skin, boom, boom, boom. That's not.
That's drumming.
Yeah, that's drumming. That's not battery and ensemble. Mm-hmm. So when you look at most of our programs we come from, they all came from where? Michigan State, right? Like it is European. What can anybody name a famous marching band from the Congo? I'm just saying. Like it literally is Europe. What we're doing is it is European. They came up with it. You look at Grambling State University at FAMU, you look at Prairie View. Those schools were doing this way before we were doing it. So it is European. The instruments are European. We didn't have snares in Africa, right? The snare was introduced to the Congo through the Belgians, right? Who are Europeans. And I'm not saying we have to throw away our identity to do that, right? But if we're going to participate in the sport of it, then you have to learn the rules of the game. You can't, if I'm playing chess, you can't be playing backgammon. That's the game on the other side of the board that nobody play, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just if you're gonna play the game, you really got to follow the rules of the game as well. Because if you don't, then what you have is our children, which is the future, in a position where they're losing, right? And I'm not, and by no intents and purposes am I saying that we should be Europeans. I'm not saying that at all, right? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is the marching sport is, if you want to call it that, it's a European sport. The instruments, the sticks, Remo,
the history.
the history.
If you learn your percussion history, when we learned percussion history in school, we learned about a lot of stuff that didn't really come from Africa. Now, when we're talking about hand drumming,
correct,
when we're talking about Latin percussion and all the other stuff, Latin percussion and all the other stuff, now you can take your traces back to Africa. But when we're talking about militant marching and everything like that, Africa didn't really have no militants to wear out everything like that. Like all the calls and all the roles and everything like that, all that came from the Europeans.
Yep. When you look at the 13 original rudiments, European hands down. European hands down.
We didn't get American until we got what? 26.
26 hands down European. 40 hands down European. Right. So when you give a kid and say, "Hey, pay this paddle flapper," it's European, and it's in a book. And none of us are born playing hybrids or rudiments at all. So either we're learning by rote, but the person that gave it to the world literally put it on paper. Because we wouldn't even know what these things are. We go to Ninja Drummist, right? You go to the website. That's all literally on paper, electronically, right? But it's written. You see what I'm saying? So, and I understand, because I don't like to, and I guess what I'm saying is I don't like to use the whole paradigm of black and white when it comes to percussion. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? I've seen some bad hand drummers that were European. So I don't think we should do that, because we already have a lot of divisiveness, you know, and I know the brother's not trying to do that. I know he's not trying to do that. But I'm saying there's already a lot of divisiveness anyway. But if you want to learn that, then you have to learn it. Like, and that's just, and I think all too often we become the people that, hey, show it to me. Show it. But what happens when there's, in the family unit, there's nobody to show you certain things? Right? If you don't have a father to show you how to tie a tie, what do? Right? You look at a video or whatever, but you still have to try to learn it, right? So it's the same principle. I just think that I don't want to, and I think everybody on this panel, I've heard of every single person on this panel. And I'm not exaggerating. I've heard of you guys, and I know you guys can play. Flat out. I know you guys can play. I know you know what you're doing, right? I've seen you guys. I've seen videos of all you guys, and some of you guys I talk to, you know, here and there, and some of you guys I talk to you almost at least once a week, maybe once every other week, right? And what I can tell you about everybody is that everybody on this panel has more influence than they really think. And that if they actually push the narrative of learning to read, it's gonna trickle down. Because I see